Welcome back to a walk through the tarot. Today the Fool encounters card 10, the Wheel of Fortune, an archetype of fate or destiny. It's the most complex card he's met so far. The symbols don't make sense and he's feeling confused, but he's reaching the centre point of his walk through the tarot archetypes. So far, each card has been a test, and this one is no different. We're going to look at the wheel's background, explore its symbols, and examine some of the messages it might have for the Fool as he continues with his journey. The Greek goddess Tyche, known to the Romans as Fortuna, was responsible for individual fate or destiny. She was often portrayed with a wheel to symbolise the ever-changing nature of luck, and wore a blindfold to show the randomness of life events. Her key message was nothing lasts forever, and good fortune could be gained as easily as it could be lost. Through the influence of the European Church, the image of a wheel became associated with morality. It was used to remind congregations of the inevitability of death. Status could change, but life on earth was only temporary, while God's existence was eternal. In Renaissance Italy, early tarot showed a wheel with people and sometimes animals attached. Known as the Rota Fortunae, which is Latin for Lady Fortune's Wheel, the idea was a popular medieval allegory, derived from an illustration in a 6th century book called The Consolations of Philosophy by Roman statesman and philosopher Boethius. In the years when very few could read or write, the image was used to represent the rises and falls of life, and was designed to show status and power were rarely permanent. In a Visconti Sforza tarot, the woman wearing a blindfold in the centre represents Madame Fortuna, or Lady Fortune, while the man at the top of the wheel is an emperor or king, but look closely and you can see he has donkey or rabbit ears. These are a reminder of the foolishness of believing in the permanence of worldly success. There are a number of different Sforza decks, named today by the families who owned them, and in the Sforza Brambilla wheel, the ears are more prominent. These early tarot cards show the wheel resting on an old man on his knees, who represents the lowest point of individual fortune. The Budapest Tarot, one of the earliest mass-produced decks, replaced people with animals to show the absurdity of ambition, as we can fall as easily as rise up, and the image was a reminder of the eternal cycles of life and death. As tarot moved across Europe in the 16th century, the Marseillais-style decks from France continued to show animals attached to the wheel, but once the French occultists adopted tarot in the 18th and 19th centuries, different images and meanings were offered. Antoine Comte de Gebelin claimed the tarot was a repository of ancient Egyptian wisdom. He removed associations with Christianity and renamed the card the Royal Road of Life. It now represented a spiritual journey towards immortality, one which followed ancient principles of balance between life events, which could be both positive or negative. A century later, Eliphas Levi incorporated more mythological meanings, and he introduced the letters T, A, R and O to the wheel. On the ascending side, Levi placed a Hermanubis, combining the Egyptian god Anubis with the ancient Greek Hermes, both having responsibility for the souls of the dead. This represented the rise of intellect. On the descending side, Levi placed Typhon, a Greek god defeated by Zeus in the battle between the Titans and the Olympians. Typhon stood for destruction and showed the consequence of falling. A sphinx was added to the top of the wheel. It wore an Egyptian headdress and had wings. Levi was also interested in the biblical story of Jewish prophet Ezekiel, who had a strange vision where he was visited by God in a chariot with wheels within wheels, known as a phanim. The chariot was drawn by winged creatures with 4 faces: a man, lion, ox and eagle. Levi was a major influence on the Swiss occultist Oswald Wirth. His Wheel of Fortune represented the dual forces of creation and destruction, while the Sphinx provided balance between them. The Waite-Coleman-Smith Wheel of Fortune incorporates figures from Egyptian mythology and retained the link with Ezekiel. It's a complicated image, so let's take a closer look at the symbols on the Waite Coleman Smith card. The jackal-headed Anubis rises. In ancient Egypt, Anubis was the god responsible for the opening of the mouth ceremony. This made it possible for the dead to be restored, to eat and to drink, as well as to hear and speak in the afterlife, so the soul could interact with the gods. Anubis was also responsible for the weighing of the heart next to a feather. The weight would determine what happened next to the newly deceased, if their afterlife would be a reward or otherwise. On the descending side, Waite placed a snake. This is Set, an Egyptian god who embodied wickedness, and this retained the duality of good and evil and the idea of balance between them. The Sphinx at the top of the wheel signifies Horus, the Egyptian god of life, death and wisdom, as well as representing stability between opposing forces. The wheel still has the word Torah, which is Hebrew meaning the law. In between are the Hebrew letters for Yahweh, the name of God, and a reminder of the ups and downs of fate or destiny. The spokes of the wheel carry the alchemical symbols of the 4 classical elements: Mercury in the north for earth, sulphur in the east for air, water in the south, and salt for fire in the west. The corner figures come from Ezekiel's vision. Top left is the angel, top right an eagle, bottom right a lion, and on the bottom left is the bull or ox. These 4 figures represent the world, and all are reading books which symbolise knowledge. The purpose of symbols is to trigger new thoughts and highlight previously unseen connections. Like the second row of cards, which is designed to open up the hidden unconscious self. So, what can the Fool learn from this card? To be alive is to be caught within a circle of time. The passage of years can't be stopped, but just as the world spins and we don't notice, we often fail to see the wheel turning within our own lives. The Wheel of Fortune connects with card 1, the Magician, where the Fool was shown the principles of like attracts like through the Hermetic principle of as above, so below. Every action has a consequence, and this aligns with the Buddhist principles of karma and reincarnation, where the soul is immortal and each earthly life a result of actions taken in previous ones. The Fool is being encouraged to take a deeper look. We're the sum total of what we do, whether it's making the same mistakes over and over or being brave enough to open doors to new experiences. The Fool always has the choice to fall apart or find the strength to pick himself up for a fresh start. And during his time with the Hermit, he learned about taking time out for himself, to be at peace with isolation and live without distractions. To understand the wheel is a similar experience. The Fool realises he can detach from the continual process of movement, which up to now has always felt beyond his control. Only by stepping back from the endless cycles can he make the next step on his journey towards himself. The wheel also reminds the Fool of how everything contains within itself the binary opposite. To be born is to die, good is defined by bad, and what goes right is always the opposite of what could go wrong. Some people believe the external world controls them, making them victims of circumstance, while others take steps to detach themselves from the material world and to focus on adaptability and resilience. He's almost halfway through the major arcana, and he's seeing how each archetype builds on the one before and how certain messages repeat themselves, such as the need for balance between opposing forces. The next card on his walk through the tarot is the archetypal figure of Justice. Like the High Priestess, Justice sits in front of a veil, and our Fool will be given the choice whether or not to pass through. So, join us as we take the next step on a walk through the tarot.